Assyrian Foundation of America was established in 1964 as a 501c3 nonprofit in California to help needy Assyrians around the world, support Assyrian education, and preserve and promote the Assyrian language and culture. Since 1977, Nimbe magazine has been published under the auspices of the Assyrian Foundation of America and distributed around the world. Every day since inception, Assyrian Foundation of America has been a window of hope to keep Assyria alive. For more info, please visit AssyrianFoundation.org. With over 60 years of combined experience in real estate services, transaction coordination, and property management, we are ready to assist you with your next move, whether buying, selling, investing, property management, and transaction coordination needs anywhere in California. Let us be your next one-stop shop for all your real estate needs. Call us today for a complimentary consultation at 408-314-7468, Synoptic Real Estate Group.
إيمانويل أكسيدنت اتنرابا ناشا ليعطي متبصل طاقة شكلي. اتلان نسيانة بدنا كيسس injury law و بيالباية قريمخ. إن آتن ينكل بتت بيتا خزموخن يطاني اتلوخن بوقارة مخبرون المنيان التلفون 8 أربع شوا وچا 8 تري وچا 5 خا اشتا يعني توكن بيت injuryrights.com. شمي إلى توني كالوغراكس كي يمزمن لشان خلية ديما.
OpenVPN, connecting your world securely. We believe all people should have unfiltered access to the internet. This will strengthen our society and provide people with equal opportunities. Our mission is to connect your world securely by providing a more safe and secure online experience. OpenVPN is the provider of next-gen secure and scalable communication services. Our award-winning open-source VPN protocol is the de facto standard in the open-source networking space with over 50 million downloads. Visit www.openvpn.net to use our consumer VPN private tunnel or our business VPN solution Access Server.
شلام عليكم. أنا ريبيكا سايمون. میگی بدیو داعت شامیران قبولو خوی من بشینه. أرخن أمان أوديو إلى براين باتو. براين يشيتت ألبو أجامو 88 جاب بغداد أطرا الدنيا تيلي. إذن تتريش نوفا من آواه بلاطنا من أطرا وبرخشنا أستراليا. براين خارطة بشغالو لباتشلرز ديجريو يو مالتي ميديا وزاروزلي فيلمي. خادنا فيلم الزرزلي بشمت غريس قد إلى خا فيلم كيريا باسط أطوراي. براين عدي من برد زوجو قد إلى خا أطوريتا وطلعي السوري وخمنا زوجو أورخة عدي بخاينة يو ملبورن أستراليا. براين باتو شلامالوخ بشينة تيلوخ الخرزن يو داعت شاميران.
Shalama, thank you so much for having me.
براين أنا بداين قد أتن سورة تازلي بود برد زوجو ملبتولا ودايا بلشانة English So we're going to be speaking in English with you and find out about your life and what you've done and your aspirations. Now, someone somewhere wrote something about a thing that you did not too long ago on social media. And then boom, you happened to the Assyrian community and we happened to you. Nobody had heard of you. Nobody had seen you or knew of you. But then the short film that you made named Grace connected you with the Assyrian community across the world. Now, there was an outpouring of love to you. They have found you. How did you take the intense emotional reaction of your fellow Assyrians?
I'm just grateful, to be honest. I'm absolutely grateful. I just filled with emotion and gratitude and joy. You know, it was such a lovely. Yeah, I don't know where it's come from, but if you're watching, thank you so much. yeah, it just I've got no words. I was just really emotional, and I was like, oh God, this is incredible. It's such a great feeling. I know when we set out to make this film, obviously, making sure that the film was in the native language in Assyrian, and making sure that from an authenticity point of view, we did our job the right way, and introduced the world to our culture. And yeah, it was really important to me and my team. So to have the community react the way they've reacted is just absolutely amazing.
And that's how we are. We see an accomplished Assyrian. We just can't wait to tell them we love you. Brian, is this your real name?
It is my real name. Yes. Yeah. I always get asked this question. How did you come up with the name and whatnot? But yeah, it is my real name. My father, he had friends that traveled in Europe and studied abroad, and when he knew he was having a boy, he was talking to his friend and said to him, I've got this name, I've got this thing in my head, like Bright, Bright. And he said to him, you can't name your son Bright. That's not a name you can, it's not, let's not go there, type thing. But he suggested Brian, and my dad loved it. My parents loved it. And there you go. Off you go, Brian.
The silver lining is that you don't have to spell it these days in this country, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's come natural. But all my colleagues and my friends and those I work with, they all call me Patto.
Oh.
It's just, yeah. It's in Australia. It's very much it's already a nickname. Like Patto is like what someone like Patterson or whatever it may be, they would call them Patto. So the fact that my last name's already Patto, automatic.
Okay. Well, we're going to call you Brian if you don't mind.
No, Brian's good. Brian's good.
Brian, why films? What drew you to not only write your scripts but make them as well?
Well, my love for film started as a child. So when we came to Australia, I found it really hard to speak English. So I would speak mainly Arabic to my parents because we were in Baghdad, and my grandfather used to speak to me in Arabic. So when I came over as a 3-4-year-old, I'd speak in Arabic, which didn't some sides of my family would be go, well, you have to speak Assyrian. So for me, my love for film came from when I was a child trying to learn how to speak English. So I would use film as a way to, I'd go to school and I'd try to figure out, what certain things would mean and how they sound and all that. So I'd watch basically movies and use that as a tool to learn English. So that's where my love for film came. And yeah, growing up, I knew the power of film and what film could do for a certain narrative or a certain people or a certain culture or whatever it may be. I can go down the list of, films and what films have done for certain people and cultures. It's a powerful tool. And for me as a child, not only did I use it as a learning tool, it was an escape. It was always an adventure. That hour and a half or 2 hours, that window for me was just such an invigorating thing. I would sit there as a kid and just go, wow. I'd get lost in this world. It was almost tunnel vision. The film would start, the logos would come up, and then bam, I would be there. That was my, that was my world for 2 hours. And once I saw the power in that, I just fell in love.
When you were watching those movies, did you ever think, you know what, even as a child, I want to make my own movie? What went through your mind being so attracted to watching movies?
Oh, absolutely. I was always a curious kid. I'm still curious. Watching films back then, I would always try and work out, I wonder, like, how did they achieve this, or how did they do that, or I remember watching Jackie Chan films as a teenager and going, wow, like, did he really just jump off that building? Did he really, so it's always been something that I've gone, I want to do that. I want to be able to have the skill set and the tools and the team around me to be able to tell stories like that. It's always fascinated me.
Now, I'm sure in your lifetime you've come across a lot of people who are not filmmakers, or not artists, or not writers. Do you really think that there is a difference between someone who is a filmmaker and someone who isn't, as far as how they see the world?
No, I think there's a storyteller in all of us. You know, I think there's when you discuss whatever it is, politics, science, medicine, whatever it is, there's a storyteller in all of us. That's how you converse with people. You know, when someone, you know, even when you ask, where are you from? They're telling you a story. I'm from X and I grew up here and this is what I did. And that in itself is a story. So I think even though, you know, the classic left brain versus right brain argument, I think there's creativity and storytellers in all of us.
And that is true. Some people like you can tell the story that fascinates everybody else around them. Some people keep their stories inside, and that is the difference. And I'm glad that you are telling your story in the film mode. Brian, what did you do before you made Grace? You've been through school, multimedia, field of multimedia. You've been out of school, I assume, for about a decade. And what did you do between Grace and your graduation from college?
Well, college, university was an interesting thing. I picked a course that I thought would benefit me. My love for film kind of directed me in that way, but it wasn't in the traditional way. So traditionally, you'd say, "Oh, I want to be a filmmaker. I'm going to go to film school." But for me, it was okay. I want to understand other things that surround film, right? So for me, editing was a key component. Physically editing, right? So understanding editing, that's one thing, right? But physically editing, physically getting on the keyboard and actually moving things around and doing all that type of stuff, that was really interesting to me. So first thing I did was, you know, when I graduated, I found a job as an editor, and I would cut, you know, TV shows and a whole bunch of content. And so I learned how to edit, but I knew that eventually when I was ready to make a film, I needed to surround myself with the right people, the right team, but also know the skill set. So it took a very long time for me to find the right people and surround myself with the right, you know, creatives, the right artists to tell the story that I wanted to tell. And, you know, it's been an 11-year journey, but we're here and we're doing it, and extremely, extremely excited.
You were gracious enough to allow me to see your film. It's a film about an Assyrian family. It's done all in Assyrian language. And the main character's name is Grace, the little girl. I don't want to give away the plot. I don't want to give away a lot. I'd like our viewers to discover and feel the movie on their own. But what inspired you to make Grace and write it?
Absolutely. So what inspired me was an event that happened to a family member in Mosul. I don't want to get too deep into it because I do want to respect his privacy. So what happened to him really affected me. When I heard this, I immediately went to my parents and I said to them, I want to be able to tell a story. What do you think? And the reply was, look, that's obviously it's a very touchy subject. And, you know, there might be things that may cause PTSD and a whole bunch of other, you know, factors. So be respectful and just be careful with it. So I decided not to kind of pursue that. And then the events of 2014 happened and it just clicked. Like it just clicked.
What events of 2014? Sorry, what events of 2014 happened?
Sorry, the fall of Mosul. So when ISIS invaded Mosul, you know, I was watching that on TV and I was going, oh God, this is horrendous. It's obviously affected so many people. And I mean, it's nothing new, right? In the Middle East, nothing new. But it was just something about this one thing where it kind of hit me hard, and I was like, I need to be able to communicate this in a way that as an artist, I know how to communicate, right? And that's through film. So I sat down and I was thinking about it, and I thought, you know, when I first try and shape a story or try and tell a story, I put myself in that world. I make it personal. I make it connect. And once it connects, and once it's personal, it's very organic. It's very kind of, it turns fluid in a way. So I put myself in that world, and I said to myself, if I was in that part of the world and what was happening to me, how would I protect my children but still maintain their innocence? Because that's a really important thing, right? You know, children in that part of the world, they tend to grow up very quickly. You know, almost their innocence and their childhood are snatched away at a very young age. So I thought to myself, if I was in that part of the world, and it's not as easy as just buying a, you know, we all know this, it's not as easy as just buying a plane ticket and leaving. If the inevitable were to happen, how would I protect my kids? And I came up with the idea of teaching my daughter hide and seek and disguising that as essentially a life or death scenario, right? But I disguise it in a playful game of hide and seek. I'm going to, you know, try and find you. You hide, and I'm going to try and find you. So go off and do it. And we would do this every single day, repeatedly, over and over and over again, till it became automatic. So when the day would come and we did need to, you know, action it, the child would immediately react. So this idea of hide and seek came up, and I started writing this this film in my head, put it down on paper, had the script there, and it just didn't feel like the right time to do it. I wasn't surrounded by the right team. I'm very much the kind of person where if it's not right and it's not ready, don't do it. Don't rush, because essentially my film school was making 2 films prior that didn't click, that didn't work. Right? And you learn, you know, one of the best tools, you know, you could use as a filmmaker is to learn from your mistakes. You know, I did this and it didn't quite work, or I did that and it didn't quite work. So I put the script away, and then 2020 came along, bang, global pandemic. We're all sitting at home. I call up my producer and I say to him, I really want to make a movie. And he says to me, okay, you know what? And this is a producer I've worked with for many years in advertising. And he said to me, okay, what is it? What story do you want to tell? Hit me. And I said to him, I've got this story of this little girl, you know, and at first I presented another script to him. I presented this kind of, you know, gangster-esque, Tarantino-esque type film, and it had all these scenes in it and all these little things. And he said to me, he read it and he went, you're nuts. You know, you're born in Iraq. You escape with your family, you come over here as a refugee, you hit the restart button and you start from scratch. That is the story. That's the story you need to tell. That's the story you must own. It's personal, it's you. So I said, okay, well, I've got this story. And I handed him over the grey script and he said, this is great. We have to make this into a film. This is perfect. And we brought we brought on board Chris, who's a colleague of mine, and he rewrote this, you know, he kind of sharpened it, so to speak, made it a beautiful, you know, succinct screenplay, and we went off and that's the beginning of Grace. That's how we made it.
We saw a flyer of the movie Grace with the Assyrian script as the title, and just want to tell our audience, because I've seen the movie isn't in black and white, it's in color. The flyer is in black and white. Now, just like Brian, Grace is not a typical Assyrian name. Why did you name it Grace? Was it because you intended to give the movie a meaning, or was it just the name of a little girl you liked?
It's so again, it goes back to making it connect and being personal. My daughter's name is Grace. So Grace, the character, is kind of designed and is brought to life as my daughter. So that's the first reason. The first reason is to make sure it connects with me. And when I'm writing this, when I'm directing it, when I'm telling the story, I envisage my daughter, my family, which makes it much more powerful as an artist. And the second reason is obviously the multiple meanings to grace, you know, the grace of God and the grace. So it does have those undertones, but like everything, it needs to be personal.
I'd like our audience to go see the behind the scene pictures or video of filming your movie. So if we can have Frederick show the trailer of movie Grace, it's very short, it's very brief, but our audience at least can get a feel of what the movie is like.
Good, all right, cut. A little left. Yeah, that's great. And then we're going to close up.
It must have been a true challenge to gather the actors, the crew, to do a film during the lockdowns, during the pandemic. And you managed to finish the film. Kudos to you.
Thank you. It was definitely a challenge. We utilized the time in lockdown very wisely. You know, the most challenging aspect of the film was obviously trying to make Australia look like Mosul. So for us, it was a matter of talking to several, many people who were born there, who were raised there, who lived there before, after 2014, to give us that authentic look and feel. And we basically, we were lucky enough to get so many people in our community to give us reference shots of what the houses look like. And then the next challenge was getting a house. And normally the way you would do this is you would, get a set built, but that cost a lot of money. So for us, it was a matter of, okay, we need to get a house, and we need to be able to transform that house into Mosul. But again, that costs a lot of money. So we were lucky enough in finding a house that was being, that was essentially being demolished in the northern suburbs, that we could use as a set. And we used our reference shots to transform this house into Mosul. So we were lucky enough to get the floor plan. And my DP and I, Aaron, were sitting at home in lockdown via Zoom, and we got the floor plan, and essentially he built the house in 3 dimension for us to be able to design our shots, in pre-production, work out exactly where the shots would go, how we would tell the story, which is the first time I've ever done anything like that. Obviously you would find the location, you'd go out there physically and you do all this stuff, but we had to do it all in lockdown. So a lot of the rehearsals were done via Zoom, and it was a very, very, massive challenge to try and get this thing done in your house, in your bedroom. But as soon as lockdowns opened, they were ended, and it opened up, because of all that planning, because of every single, bit that we planned, and we knew exactly where things were going to go. And we spent, the months leading up to it. We were so prepared that as soon as it unlocked, it was full steam ahead. We're out there, we were building, as you can see, we built a wall, because obviously in Australia it's timber fence, and in Iraq it's predominantly concrete. And so we took our reference shots and we built our set. That was the first thing, and then it went from there. So definitely one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
Truly amazing. And as the cliche goes, when there is a will, there's a way. So you made it happen. How long did the filming take, the shooting of the movie?
So we shot, again, because of the budget, a film like this should really take about 7 days to shoot. 10 minutes, 7 days to shoot. We did it in 3, and that was, obviously budget constraints, timing constraints, and a whole bunch of other factors. So, we pulled it off in 3 days, which was an incredible, achievement from the cast and the incredible crew. This team is the team that I usually work with in the advertising industry, and they're just on point, sharp, very, very skilled, individuals, and they're all experts in their own department. So, it's very easy. It's very easy to go, oh, well done. But the team, I cannot tell you how incredible the team was and how supportive the team was to getting this film made. So when our community, you know, gives me a high five, they're essentially giving my whole team a high five. You know, I'm so grateful for the you know, incredible effort and the time that they put in to making this film. I don't think they even know how important it is. You know, for them, it's like, oh, we're just telling a story, and it's a pretty cool story. But I think for them, once they know what it's done, and how important it is to our community, I think they'll feel a new appreciation for it.
Of course, just like any other project, you have a good team, your chances of success just go up.
Absolutely.
And especially if you have child actor laws like we do in the United States, that makes it more restrictive to use child actors, then doing it in 3 days, it must have been monumental.
That was one of the factors. One of the factors is, you know, you can't, you know, you've got to be very careful of how you do that. And we obviously went through the right protocols and the right procedures and did everything very safely. And yeah, but she was, you know, Lara is just, you know, for those who've seen the film, you know, she took us by storm. She is a incredible talent. And I hope well, I mean, it's up to her, but I hope if she does pursue acting, she is going to go a long way.
I've seen it firsthand. I've seen her acting. She's very effective and very natural.
Oh, outstanding.
It's acting has come very natural to her. There were some scenes that were difficult to act, but she was amazing in them.
Yes, absolutely.
Was this her first acting, Lara's?
So there are 4 cast in the film. 3 of them first-time actors. Which again, it was you know, an interesting challenge to kind of get them in that world. And what we hired an incredible dramaturg, which is essentially an acting coach, to work with them on a weekly basis and get them up to that point, because it's an intense set of emotions they're trying to convey on film. So for non-actors, I mean, there's a good and there's a pro and a con, and the pro is you're fresh. You know, it's a fresh world. You can express those emotions without, you know, overthinking certain things. The con obviously is the technicality of working on set. So preparing them for that time on set where it's like, okay, you're going to have to show and express these emotions. And while you're doing that, you're going to have about 15 people looking at you, you know? So preparing them that and giving them right tools and the right experience needed, you know, it was a challenge, but I think personally, I'm very proud of their efforts, and I you know, they did an incredible job.
Making a movie in general is difficult, and to have so many restrictions and situations, it makes it doubly, quadruply hard. So congratulations on pulling it off. It's a beautiful movie. And you and I had a conversation about the good news I'm hearing about the movie, that it's winning a lot of awards. It's being shown across the world. Would you please tell us the awards that the movie Grace has won, and also where is it currently being shown?
So, okay, so at the moment it's being shown at the Boston Film Festival, and the one thing I want to let people know is traditionally, you know, pre-COVID, these festivals would be physical. You know, you go to a cinema and you pay a ticket and you watch the film, but it's kind of worked out in an interesting way where a lot of these festivals are now online. So at the moment, it's currently viewing at the Boston Film Festival. Tomorrow will be the last day you can see the film, but next month it'll be viewing at New York Shorts International Film Festival, and we're in Boston, Flickers, Rhode Island. Well, we've been in Boston, Flickers, Rhode Island, LA Shorts, London Indie, Montreal, Moscow, New York, San Francisco, Tokyo, Toronto, and we just found out about Paris and Florida this morning, which is great. And we won Best Short Foreign, Best Male Director, Best Actress debut, which I'm, again, so stoked for her, at Prague International Indie Film Festival. And we also won Best War Film at Calgary Indie Film Festival. So it's make its way around the world.
Amazing. Amazing. You're flying virtually to every country. You're sending off Grace, the Assyrian, all over the world to be watched. That is wonderful.
It was really interesting because when we were submitting the film, there wasn't a tick box for Assyrian. It was what language is this? And I found that so frustrating. I was like, what do you mean there's no, Assyrian? So what we had to do was, put other and then, put other and then on the bottom be like, this is Assyrian. We're hoping that this film changes that for us as well.
And we'd like to show the address to our audience of your Instagram and Twitter, the QRs where our audience can go to the QRs and watch for any updates, news, especially Instagram. You update it regularly. When a festival picks up your movie, then the Assyrians can go, or anyone can go to your Instagram account and see where it's played, and then find out if they can watch it and how they can watch it. So we have here Instagram, the QR, and then the Twitter. And so that's where our audience can go. Point your camera left bottom corner of the screen and find out, and that will take you to Brian's Twitter and Instagram accounts. And with that, Brian, we're going to take a short break for our sponsors, and we'll come back and find out more about Grace and you.
Assyrian Foundation of America was established in 1964 as a 501c3 nonprofit in California to help needy Assyrians around the world support Assyrian education and preserve and promote the Assyrian language and culture. Since 1977, Nimbe magazine has been published under the auspices of the Assyrian Foundation of America and distributed around the world. Every day since inception, Assyrian Foundation of America has been a window of hope to keep Assyria alive. For more info, please visit AssyrianFoundation.org. With over 60 years of combined experience in real estate services, transaction coordination, and property management, we are ready to assist you with your next move, whether buying, selling, investing, property management, and transaction coordination needs anywhere in California. Let us be your next one-stop shop for all your real estate needs. Call us today for a complimentary consultation at 408-314-7468. Synoptic Real Estate Group.
إيمانوايلة أكسيدنت اتنرابا ناشا ليطي متبصلتك الشكلي. اتلا نسيانة بدنا كيسس ات انجري law. و بيالباية قريمخ. إن آتن ينكل بتت بيتا خزموخن يطانة اتلوخن بوقارة مخبرون المنيان التلفون 8 أربع شوا وچا 8 تري وچا 5 خا اشتا يعني توكن بيت injuryrights.com. شمي إلى توني كالغراكس كي يمزمن لشان خلية ديما.
OpenVPN, connecting your world securely. We believe all people should have unfiltered access to the internet. This will strengthen our society and provide people with equal opportunities. Our mission is to connect your world securely by providing a more safe and secure online experience. OpenVPN is the provider of next-gen secure and scalable communication services. Our award-winning open-source VPN protocol is the de facto standard in the open-source networking space with over 50 million downloads. Visit www.openvpn.net to use our consumer VPN private tunnel or our business VPN solution, Access Server.
شلام لكم مغبن مدري كشخانة يداء شاميران عدي بالدارق بهمزمتن من film director, producer, كتابة, at Grace, Brian Patto. Brian, we just talked about Grace just flying around the world, being shown at various festivals, across the world, various countries. I doubt very much that anyone can speak our language, mostly anyone, when they're watching the festival, the movie at the festival. So tell me, you must have subtitles for Grace, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah, obviously our main subtitle language is English, but you know, we've submitted to French festivals, so we've got it translated into French and Italian, Portuguese, German. What else is there? Cantonese as well. So there are, you know, several different languages that we've interpreted the film in.
That's wonderful. What was your message? What was it that you wanted to convey to the world by making Grace?
There's a couple of reasons I wanted to convey in the film, but the most important thing for me from day one, from conception to the collaboration with Chris and I and Daz and the rest of the incredible Australian crew was this story is about a father protecting his daughter. That's it. You know, it needs to be as simple as that. Like, it cannot be, films that are preachy and that are trying to, bang on the heads of the audience. They're the films that don't really succeed because you can't relate. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, you cannot relate. So the most important thing for me is everyone can relate to, a parent or a child or a loved one, right? In general, a loved one. It doesn't matter what it is, uncle, auntie, cousin, brother, friend. The most important thing for me was this story needs to be about a father who protects his daughter. Everything around it is inherently going to be, interpreted in a way depending on where you're from, right? But the most important thing is that it causes conversation, right? So when people, one of my favorite things, or one of the things that makes me feel so happy and overjoyed is when people watch this film and it ends, they ask questions. And essentially that's what makes cinema so beautiful, asking questions. It doesn't matter what genre, like it could be a horror or a thriller, whatever it may be. When the film ends, if it causes conversation, people are talking about it, whether you agree, disagree, or whatever it may be. If you're talking about it, that means, you've done your job properly. So for me, it was like, okay, let's talk about this father and daughter and everything around it, the prayer, the language, the set design, the clothing, the food, the score, everything around it is going to be a question, which is great. That's how you started. And especially when it comes to a short film, the main objective is almost in a way acting as a proof of concept to go, hey, we're here. This is who we are. This is our story. Follow us. And by us, I mean our culture, our people, because the feature film will explore, they'll explore the questions. They'll answer them. So this short film is like, here's a snippet. Here's who these people are. This is what our culture is. Now hang in there because this is just the beginning. And for us, we're so excited because this short film is definitely just the beginning. We're developing the feature film as we speak. We've got two other projects, one being a TV series, and the other one being a documentary that explores our people and our culture and what we've been through. So that's the most important thing, to present it as human beings. First and foremost, just human beings, very simple. And that's how people relate. That's why, non-Assyrians, when they watch this film, that's why it kind of gravitates, because it's a story that's universal. A father protecting his child or a mother protecting her child, doesn't matter. That's universal. That's what's important.
Absolutely. And not only I am hoping for a conversation about this movie, but also a conversation about what has happened to Assyrians. We need to tell our stories and we need to have ears to listen. And I think art is one of the very effective modes of communicating our stories to the world. And on a different note, I do hope that someday we will not have to spell Assyrian, Assy. I hope we will say Assyrian. Oh, yes, Assyrian, of course. The old civilization of the Assyrians, Chaldeans. And I'm hoping that day will come, and hopefully your movie will be a vehicle towards that goal of not spelling our names anymore. I'm sure all of us have experienced it numerous times.
Yeah. You think that's hard? Try and explain, Assyrian, Chaldean, Syriac, all these kind of different, like trying to explain that. That's a difficult thing, and that's what a lot of our producers were mainly like, wait, what? And I'm like, look, let's just tell this story. We'll deal with that. We'll deal with that later. It's another thing that we'll need to talk about. But again, if we went down that route, if we went down the route of politics or different views or different whatever it may be, that's not what's important. What's important is the basic human right, the basic, very universal story of essentially survival. That's what's important. Obviously, again, inevitably, politics is going to be part of a film like this or a subject like this.
You can't escape it.
You can't escape it. But for me personally, I really wanted to make sure that it needs to connect with an audience emotionally first. That's what's the most important thing. It has to, because if you don't understand it and you don't connect emotionally, then you will not sympathize or empathize or understand. It can't be this, like raising flags and all that stuff. It's not what it's about. It's not what life is about. So it's really that was something I needed to just harp on over and over and over, repeat, and even on set, remind myself that this is a it's a beautiful story, and so many other of our people and that world. One of the saddest things is the fact that this isn't a unique story. There are hundreds, thousands of stories like this. That's the saddest bit. The fact that on a regular basis, stuff like this happens. So, that really hits hard. And I think you've got to learn to just put all that other stuff aside and just really understand what's the most important thing.
When I watched when you graciously, no pun intended, allowed me to watch the movie Grace, I was not only watching it through the prism of a moviegoer, a movie watcher, but how the movie was made and the kinds of decisions you made in portraying your story. I will say one little thing, and that's not going to give away the plot in any way. But at the beginning, when the movie opens, it opens with a black screen actually, with writings saying ISIS or ISIL is going to Mosul, and things are basically not very good. And then after this writing, you go to a colorful scene. A little girl with flowery dress, sunshine, greens, flowers all around her. And that took me, it shocked me, because after that writing, I expected tanks, ruins, gunshots, perhaps blood. But then I saw a little girl and I relaxed, because right then and there, in 1 second, you were able to take me out of the war zone and take me to a little girl's life. And that was a wonderful decision that you made. And I'm glad you did it that way. Just wanted to commend you for that and compliment you on that.
Thank you. It was really, again, that goes back to showing the everyday life, of our people and the people that live there. So that card at the beginning really sets up the audience from a context point of view, right? So this film goes out to all these festivals, and the judges watch the film, and for us it was really important to go, okay, This is the context of the film. This is the world you're dealing with, okay? You're just about, I'm going to set you up psychologically so you know this is that part of the world. And once you do that, like yourself in the way you interpreted it, you put the audience in a mood or an environment. And as soon as you do that, bam, you take that away and you go, this is not what you expect. You're not going to see what you think you're going to see. And when we did our sound design, Paul, our incredible sound designer, I said to him, I said, look, this is an everyday scenario, right? We wake up, you wash your hands, you sit down, you say the Our Father, you eat breakfast with it. But the outside world is trying to break in to this sanctuary. It's very important that you hear those gunshots and those bombs and that violence. Outside, that's the impending, the impending threat that inevitably comes closer and closer and closer. And I wanted it to be subtle. Again, it's all about subtlety. So when you watch the film again, you'll notice that the sound gets close. Every scene, it gets closer and closer and closer and closer until it's right outside the doorstep. And what's interesting is in that part of the world, right? I remember speaking to a family member of mine, and and he said during the war, they would literally go up to the ceiling, the rooftop. They'd go up to the rooftop, and they'd see in the distance a battle, and they go, "Oh man, that looks intense." Then go back downstairs and have some tea. That normality, it blows my mind. And even more so, like our producers and editors and crew, they go, that's insane. So during the post-production, when we did our sound design, we built that world of there's the impending, and that's why at the beginning of the film, what you're talking about, that scene, she's peaceful, but if you notice, he's on edge because he knows, and in his mind, again, subtlety, in his mind, he's trying to figure out, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? As it gets closer and closer and closer. And that's the sound is an interesting thing that you mentioned, because even in our prayer at the beginning, you hear the Our Father, you hear it, and it's this interesting language, and it's this interesting. Oh, hang on, is this what is? Oh, this is Our Father, and then I take it away from you immediately. It's almost like our language has been taken away. This language that's so fragile and so ancient that it runs the risk of dying. And that's one of the things I wanted to, there's two reasons for that. One, I wanted to take away from you, and also I wanted to add the conflict. You as an audience want to hear that prayer. You want to know what the Father's saying, but the outside world takes over. And you can see his frustration. All he wants to do is have breakfast with his daughter. He wants to pray and have breakfast with his daughter, but he can't even have that. So the sound is a very, very crucial component, and the way we shot and the way we lit it as well. Again, when you see the film, we predominantly lit it from the outside because that's the metaphor for the outside world wanting to break in to his safe space, his world, his environment. That's why the curtains are closed. There's such fear in him, inherent, this fear that he can't escape, that he shuts the doors, and that's the reason why that moment when she wants to go outside and she wants the flower, she wants to water the flowers, which symbolizes her mother. For him, it's such a dangerous thing, and again, without ruining anything, when you see the film, that moment where, come here, what are you doing? It's not safe. It's those little things where you go, she's just watering flowers. So simple, very simple human things turn into this life or death scenario. And that a lot of people just don't understand. A lot of people that have never experienced something like that don't understand. So that was really, really important for us to convey in the film.
Yes, the portrayed contrasts are amazing, and I hope that the audience, when they see it, they are conscious of the various contrasts and different worlds that are portrayed in the same scene. And that is the interesting part about the movie. Brian, Patto, do you have a message for any Assyrian aspiring actor, filmmaker, anybody who has any interest in pursuing films? Any advice for anyone?
two things. One, follow your gut and your dream. If you've got a dream, it's a very, very difficult industry to break, and we're still trying to do that with the feature film. It's very complicated, but if you've got it and it's in your heart and it's in your gut, follow it. You have to follow it. Don't try and be something you're not. Follow who you are and follow that dream. And the other thing I would highly recommend is make sure you surround yourself with the right people that are going to do your story justice. Don't rush, especially for filmmakers, actors, whatever it may be, behind the camera, in front of the camera. Do not rush. I cannot repeat enough, do not rush. You have only hit the green light when it's ready, when you know you've got everything that you need to tell the story correctly, right? And then go for it. Don't rush, because it's such filmmaking is such an interesting thing. And if you're a first-time filmmaker, practice. Get out there, grab a camera, practice. You just go and shoot. Write something, or if you've got something in your head, go out and shoot, because what happens is you learn from your mistakes. And that's really important. When you learn from your mistakes, it sharpens your skill set. You'll start to learn, last time I did this, didn't quite work, let's not do this. Last time I did this, that didn't work, don't do that. And you'll start to realize that you're much more kind of succinct and much more clever with the way you decide to do things. So for our people, if you're there and you want to be a filmmaker, or again, behind or in front of the camera, if you're in front of the camera, I'll see you soon, because we're going to need a lot of you in the feature film. That was one of the hardest things for us, casting. It was when we did casting, it was such a strange, complex thing, because the first thing we did was we got our casting agent, Zach, and he's incredible, and I presented him with this brief, and he came back with, how do you expect me to do this? You're talking about an ancient culture. I don't know the communities, etc., etc. So we reached out to a couple of people in the community who were absolutely great and helpful. One of them was Mahad, the other one was Zahi. These guys are great. They hooked us up with the right people, and we had to get the word out there. And casting was extremely complex. But I remember with the first role to cast was the girl, Grace, and we had something around 30 to 40 girls that auditioned. And the first girl that auditioned was Lara. And we obviously did it on Zoom. We're all locked down, so we did it on Zoom. And I met her, and in the first 2 minutes, I was like, there she is. That's her. And I saw it, and I watched her tape, and I turned it off, called my producer, and went, we got her. And he goes, calm down, mate, calm down. And got another X amount. And I said, no, you don't understand. We've got her. This is her. She's incredible. She's captivating. This is her. And he goes, just see the rest of them and let me know. But, the rest of them were incredible, but there was just something very particular and very special about Lara. So, we casted the first person. Lara is Grace. And then we followed up with, another girl that was up for the main role. She was so incredible, who's Grace. Her real name is Grace. She was so incredible that I went back to our screenwriter and I said to him, the initial role was for a little boy who plays the neighbor. And I said to Chris, rewrite it. We have to rewrite it. Has to be a girl. Has to be this girl. She's incredible. So we rewrote for her, and then it's just incredible. And then the father was the next step, and again, a whole bunch of people auditioned, and they were great. There was so many it was such a hard decision because there were so many talented people who auditioned, and such great vibes and such great energy. But there was something that I had in my head, someone I pictured, and it didn't quite hit the mark. And again, you have to follow your gut. Always follow your gut, and it just wasn't quite there. And I remember saying to my producer, I'm not sure about this. I don't know how to do it. And then one night we were just talking, and I said, just out of curiosity, my uncle, he's a singer, he's an Assyrian singer, and he's got some minor acting experience. What do you think? And I sent him the photo, and my producer went, what the hell? Why am I seeing this now? Get him to cut this. Do it. Like, he liked his face, and he said, just get him to audition. So he sent an audition tape back, and I was like, whoa, wait, what? You know, I was confused. I was like, you know how to act? Well, you know, he blew us away, and he was just the right move, because he had this really interesting, you know, connection with the character, and he has such pure kind of expression and patience. I mean, it was really hard to direct my uncle. That was a complex thing to do, because it was like, you know, looking at me like, you're my nephew, shut up, you know. but he did such a great job. And then the last, which is, I would say, is probably, we were blessed, Johnny, who plays the uncle. And Johnny, we found, again, through another colleague of ours, but Johnny lived it. Johnny was there in Mosul and narrowly escaped. So when ISIS attacked, he narrowly within hours, you know, escaped. So when we spoke to him, not only did he have acting experience, he lived it, and he just became this incredible kind of authenticity advisor in a way. And he was so incredible that he wasn't even acting. He was literally reliving the moment. So every single time we would play his scene, and I remember right off the bat, my AD, because he came in, he had this really cool, you know, kind of ponytail and his goatee, and my AD leaned over and he whispered during rehearsals, leaned over and he was like, "Are you sure you made the right decision?" And I said, "Trust me, my gut tells me this is the guy." And in rehearsals, as soon as we yelled action, he just, like, all the non-Assyrians there had no idea what he was saying, but his power was so overwhelming that it just gave everyone goosebumps. And the reason is, again, he wasn't acting. He was literally living the moment. You know, his family were like, you gotta go. It was like flipped. In reality, he was like, I want to stay. But when we spoke, it was so emotional, and the amount of times that I had to stop myself from crying because of his impact. You know, and I would look at this screen, and when I look at the screen, everything around me disappears because I want to focus on what I'm looking at. And he just blew me out of the water. I was like, oh, thank you, God. He's, you know, this guy is incredible. And him and Basil had such chemistry that, you know, again, without ruining it, there's a scene where they both argue, and it's powerful. It just slaps you in the face. You know, such an incredible thing. So for casting, you know, to go back to your question, chase it. If you want to do it and you love it and you've got the passion and you surround yourself with the right people, go for it. I'm super excited. Like, the more the merrier. You know, the more of us doing what we love doing and following our dreams, the better it is. Well,
your uncle nailed it. I can tell you that. And of course, they all did well, but your sharp instincts as to Laura, who played the role of Grace, were spot on.
She's definitely the star of the film, 100%. She was, you know, and she was so mature as well, like for her age, you know, and her mother played such a crucial role as well. Her mother was incredible, well, both her parents, but her mother was so supportive. And when we had the script, and, you know, because she had to kind of relearn, I mean, her parents obviously speak to her in Assyrian, but being born in Australia and speaking English, we had to kind of re-inject that Assyrian language into her, and her mother just played such a, you know, she was incredible. Everything from like set design to, you know, teaching her the language, she did such an incredible job.
At the end, Brian, I'd like to ask you a question. I don't know if you can answer it or you want to answer it, but I'd like to know if you showed the movie to your children. You have a 10-year-old, your oldest is 10, and then down the line, 3 born ones, and then 1 on the way. If they had any input in the way you edited the film, and, you know, if you showed the movie before the final cut and then afterwards, and what their input was.
I was careful. I was very careful with the way I showed them, and also in general the way I cut the film. it makes it more impactful if the audience. That's why I didn't show what happened without ruining the film. There are certain things that I don't show. The audience, the imagination of the audience is way more powerful than a filmmaker showing the audience what's going on, right? If you imply it and you shoot it in a way and you cut it in a way where you take the audience's imagination and it just runs off wild, that's kind of, that was very intentional at the beginning. So when my kids saw it, because they inevitably saw the film, I mean, we've got a screening room, so I would edit with my colleague and screen it, edit, screen it, edit, screen. I've seen it so many times that they ended up watching it.
Screen it to whom? To your family?
It's our team. No, our team.
Your team.
Yeah. We would screen it, and then when the film was done, we had a family screening, and they reacted in the way I knew they would react, and that's, they had a blanket and they covered their face with a blanket. Because it obviously, it has some stuff in there, but they're young and they're energetic, and I'm sure when they get much older, they'll understand the purpose and the reason for the film.
I'd like to show the trailer one more time before we say goodbye. So if Frederick may show the trailer.
شما يلي سيدوك مطشت بيو ليبر بلطت بدوك مطشت منه هل أنا أمرنا.
On a personal level, I am so pleased that you were not scared of having 100% of the dialogue in Assyrian. You didn't run away from the language, though some say it's no longer spoken, nobody cares about it, it's forgotten language, and just a tiny, minute percentage of the population in the world speaks it. You used it. That was courageous, and my thank to you on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. That was extremely important for us. We discussed it very early on, whether it should be in English or it should be in Assyrian, and I don't think it was a question for me. We knew exactly, I knew exactly how I wanted this film to be. I knew what I wanted it to say, and it's such a beautiful language. It's got such a rich, huge heritage. It's so important to keep it alive. And obviously film is that other tool, along with any type of art or any type of communication. It was very, very important to me to make sure that stayed there. And in the feature film, it's interesting because there are so many different dialects and different parts of our culture and different villages and different, backgrounds, that in the feature film, it's going to be so, so interesting and such a challenge to kind of explore all those other aspects of it that, I'm very excited to take that on as a challenge.
I believe with you using our mother tongue, you made the movie more authentic. That's my opinion. And
Absolutely.
I cannot wait to see your feature film, Grace, being in front of our eyes. I don't know if the same little girl is going to play the role. I don't know how long down the line you'll be able to make the movie, but I cannot wait to see the movie and see what you've done, how you expanded a 11-minute movie, 11-minute movie into a feature film and market it to the whole world. I cannot honestly wait. How long, you have sharp instincts, how long do you think it will take before we can see your feature film in the theaters?
That really, look, it depends. At the moment, we've brought on an incredible writer to help us explore that world, and Jamie is, his work. He's written Hollywood films before, and is very incredible, very talented. He's been in that, he's been in Iraq as well during the 90s. and he's also written, you know, a film based in Baghdad as well. So for him, for us, it was extremely important to bring on someone who could bring it to life, but also explore the many different aspects of this world, right? It's such a complex thing to explore. And for me, the most important thing for the feature film is that it showcases the reality of what it is to live in that part of the world, right? And also a reality of who we are. I remember speaking to my producer, and he was kind of like, you know, what are the aspects, like what are the things that kind of make your culture what it is? And I said, look, in a poetic way, it's the classic life and death, right? So our baptisms are unique, our weddings are definitely unique, and our funerals are unique. We have our own way of expressing emotion in these you know, different parts of our life. So in the feature, you know, it'll be interesting, it'll be challenging, but you know, imagine showing the world an Assyrian wedding, you know, chagga.
بتزورنا دابولة.
You know, yeah,
ويا
imagine that.
الخياطة.
Absolutely, you know, imagine that. Imagine getting, you know, a distributor, and you know, you can go to a cinema, and your friends can buy a ticket and see what our people are like, or see our baptisms, you know, or see a funeral, or see what it was like to go to school over there, or see what it was like to escape, you know, because there are so many of our people who have escaped, and these stories, you know, they're insane. They're insane stories. When you hear these stories, you go, oh, wow, you know, that's what you went through. You know, so many people, you know, mothers that are pregnant that are crossing sub-zero temperature rivers with huge currents, getting over to Turkey, trying to, you know, get refuge in the States or Europe or Australia, whatever it may be. These are really, really powerful stories that have never been explored before. Well, that I've never seen on screen before. And if you have, please shoot them over, you know, send those references over. But, you know, having, to answer your question, how long? At the moment, we're doing what's called an outline. And the outline essentially runs through what the feature is. And, you know, obviously taking the short film and expanding that world is a very complex thing to do. But we've got a very clear idea of where the story should go and where we explore, you know, how we explore that world. And it's also very important to, again, in reality, it's important to say, yeah, you know, the Christians live peacefully with the Muslims. They had those neighbors, they had those friends, they had those, and it's not just them, it's the Yazidis, and there's so many different, you know, it's a melting pot in that world, right? It's a melting pot, and it's not so left and right. It's way more complicated than that. So exploring those aspects in the feature film is also very important. So at the moment, we're doing the outline. After we do the outline, we then seek funding from different funding bodies, and then we move on to the screenplay. And then from there, it really is about getting funding to make the film. And that could, look, I can't give you a solid answer, but I'm annoyingly driven, as my producer likes to put it, you know. He likes to use this term where he says to me, you know, calm down, it's the horse in front of the cart, not the other way around, you know. He always says to me, just relax. And I'm like, I don't want to relax, you know, I've got this idea that I want to do this, I want to do that, and I want to do this, you know. So hopefully within the next couple of years, we'll be able to finish the screenplay and get funding. Obviously, it's going to be a logistical challenge exploring that landscape with obviously the way Mosul is at the moment. We've got to portray pre-2014, post-2014, and you know, that's set builds and whatnot. So, look, we're hoping to also get some Hollywood players involved. You know, that for me it'd be interesting to kind of explore that aspect of potentially getting some incredible cast attached to the filmmaking process and getting people to back us to tell these type of stories. So look, it's fingers crossed for me. I'm not going to stop till I do it, as much as that's going to annoy a whole bunch of people. And look, with the support of my my wife, there's no one who supports me more than my wife. You know, she's the lioness of the family and the backbone. So having her support and literally grabbing me by the ear and going, come on, you could do this. Come on, you could do this. Having her behind me, you know, we ain't going to fail. You know, having people like that who support us and get that drive is so important for us. And again, having the Assyrian community and it is such a beautiful thing as well. And I get so many messages, incredible messages for so many people around the world, from London to Chicago to LA to Europe to Prague, to so many of these people getting, you know, in contact going, what do you need? What do you need? How do we get this film made? And I'm going, oh God, this is incredible. This is incredible. Let me write the screenplay, and I promise you, I will be in contact and we will work out how we can get this thing made, because obviously it's important to have our people involved in the making of this film. That is extremely important. And having people who lived it and who are there and who can bring authenticity to the story is extremely important, because, you know, I've got a skill set, and my team has skill sets, but authenticity comes from people who have actually lived these experiences. So there'll be a time where I'll knock on the door and ask for help from our people. So I'll see you guys soon.
And I'm hearing that you have an iron will. That's always helpful. And you must know that I and your fellow Assyrian brothers and sisters will impatiently wait for the movie to come and for you to paint the screen with our untold story. So best wishes to you, Brian Patto. Thank you for coming to Shamiran Media, Untitled Shamiran, and talking to us about your movie and what is there to come. And I hope to see a lot more from you in the future. You're only barely 33 years old. You got a lot of time to do a lot of things. Best wishes to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you so much to the wider community. You guys have just been absolutely incredible. I want to thank the person who ignited this interest wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much. I said to one person in particular, I'm not very great at this social media PR type thing. I'm just a storyteller, but to have these people who are so supportive, thank you so much to everyone out there. And I promise you we will push as hard as possible to make this thing happen, to make this film happen, and to get these projects off the ground. I promise you, we've got the right team behind us to do it. Thank you. Merci maraba.
Ledakra, Brian, you may not be good at social media, but hey, you're darn good at interviews. Thank you for being so descriptive and giving us the story that all the Assyrians, because they haven't known you, were waiting to hear. Thank you very much, and best wishes to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
گشقانن مغبه ادیودا اتشامیران ابیتون رابا بسیم قدانو خون قد گوشقلو خون قد آها اومانه مو بای آود قاطورایه وزرستت فيلمه خاور خراب خلنتله قد أمسخ جانن ما يخلق الدنيا لخ بدايان جانن ما يخلق الدنيا بلکه بوش هسنای اویا حقویاتن شقلخلون اویتون بسیم قدانو خون گدای یومت خوشیبه گو کالیفورنیا گاوت امریکا و بخزخلو خون گاهت بیتایله بسیم رابا.
Assyrian Foundation of America was established in 1964 as a 501c3 nonprofit in California to help needy Assyrians around the world support Assyrian education and preserve and promote the Assyrian language and culture. Since 1977, Nimbe magazine has been published under the auspices of the Assyrian Foundation of America and distributed around the world. Every day since inception, Assyrian Foundation of America has been a window of hope to keep Assyria alive. For more info, please visit AssyrianFoundation.org. With over 60 years of combined experience in real estate services, transaction coordination, and property management, we are ready to assist you with your next move, whether buying, selling, investing, property management, and transaction coordination needs anywhere in California. Let us be your next one-stop shop for all your real estate needs. Call us today for a complimentary consultation at 408-314-7468, Synoptic Real Estate Group.
إيمانويل أكسيدنت اتنرابا ناشا ليطي متباسلتا كتشكلي. اتلا نسيانة بدنا كيسس ات انجري لو و بيالباية قريمخ. إن آتن ينكل بتت بيتا خزموخن يطانة اتلوخن بوقارة مخبرون المنيان التلفون 8 أربع شوا وچا 8 تري وچا 5 خا اشتا يعني توكن بيت injuryrights.com. شمي إلى توني كالغراكس كي يمزمن لشان خلية ديما.
OpenVPN, connecting your world securely. We believe all people should have unfiltered access to the internet. This will strengthen our society and provide people with equal opportunities. Our mission is to connect your world securely by providing a more safe and secure online experience. OpenVPN is the provider of next-gen secure and scalable communication services. Our award-winning open-source VPN protocol is the de facto standard in the open-source networking space with over 50 million downloads. Visit www.openvpn.net to use our consumer VPN private tunnel or our business VPN solution, Access Server.